with Zelda Financial Services LLC, and I'm back. Today, I'm on my podcast channel, whatever the hell you want to call it, with Leslie Fields. This is part of my decade series, and this is the 60s. And so Leslie doesn't look like she in the 60s, y'all. She showed up. However, she's going to be answering a question for me. So I want to just kind of throw the ball the mic over to Leslie. So introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. I'm very happy to be with you today, April. My name's Leslie Fields. I'm 63 years old. I live in Washington, D.C. I love the District of Columbia. And I am a lawyer. I've been focusing on environmental justice and environmental issues for about 30 years. I am also a great friend, auntie, daughter, niece. Community activist, avid bike rider, love Indian food and Thai food, and I just try to. I'm just so grateful for. I live on Capitol Hill, and I'm just grateful to have the opportunity to do all these things I get to do, and have the wonderful friends that I have and family. So I appreciate your interest in me.
Oh, great. And I know her through my cousin Bernice, who is a wonderful person, who is another environmental activist, who is like, she is that Phyllis Travis. Anyway, so Leslie, I have her on because I wanted to ask her that one question. Like I said, this is part of my decade series. We're in the 60s. So my one question for you, Leslie, is what are your 3 most important financial concerns being in your 60s?
It's a great question. Thank you. My main concern is, making sure I have enough money to live comfortably on and to have my adventures, which I'm still planning to have many adventures. I enjoy traveling very much. And I have enough resources to do that. Second, financially, I am in pretty good shape. And if a catastrophe happens, God forbid, I will have resources to deal with that catastrophe. And third, I want to make sure I have elderly parents and an elderly aunt, and they, I'm very keen on making sure that I am shored up so that if there's a catastrophe with them, they're safely now tucked away in assisted living respectively, but to make sure that something happens with them that I can address it. And so those are my 3 issues.
Okay, so having enough income so you don't outlive your income and your income outlives you. Making sure that you have what we call long-term care. So some kind of benefits that cover your long-term care for you in particular. And then the third, the folks in your life, your elderly people that you know and love dearly, that you're taking care of, and that if you've got resources, that you have what you need in order to take care of them. Covered all the bases?
That's good. That's right. That's it. Yeah.
Ooh. All right. Well, I actually I actually did the decade series around 60, and I talk about 3 things. And of those 3 things I do talk about, some of it's around income and actually having that kind of long-term care and what to prepare for and how to be thinking. But I also say, for most people in their 60s, Social Security is a big thing that most people are going to take. They just got to figure out when they're going to take that. And so at Social Security, I basically was like, and everybody's about to retire in their 60s. They're like, I've worked. Now it's time to retire. So when do you plan to retire, Leslie?
That's another good question. I'd like to keep working for another 3 or 4 years. So it's 67-ish. Okay. I'm thinking about But if something fun comes along, I mean, I think at 67 is to taper off, and not be working full time, but consulting, doing projects, and staying engaged in my field.
Okay. All right. Well, and then at 67, you can get your full Social Security benefits.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if you wanted to wait longer, where you could get additional money, you can take your Social Security 70. That's less. Right. And so, I actually in the recording I talk about. Have you heard of the book called Get What's Yours?
No.
Where's the book? Oh, here it is. I'm gonna show it.
All right.
Get What's Yours.
Okay.
Dang. Can't see it. Hold on. Yeah. So
there it is. There it is.
Yeah. So this book is about Social Security, and if you hadn't read it, I suggest that you read it. Actually, it's a really good read. It's really heady and intense and awesome. However, it talks about when is the most appropriate time for you, based off of what you have going on, for you to take Social Security, and what that looks like for you. And so, on average, they say the majority or the bulk of the people actually take Social Security like at first thing at age 62. And they're like, you get so many reduced benefits in that stage. If you just waited until full benefit age, you could just get all of it. And so, if you get a chance, read that. And then, aside from that, what are your plans in terms of what do you have in place in order to take care of that long-term care if you should have a medical event?
Well, I do have disability insurance for now while I'm working to protect my income.
Right.
Okay. So I have that for now. And yeah.
And what do you what happens after?
But I don't have. What happens after that is I just left. Well, not just left. Last year I left a job, and I'm starting up a new chapter in my life. So my thinking was, once I get settled in this new position, which is with the federal government actually, then I would look into those options that the feds have.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Because, there is a lot of times people don't really think about it. But what I say, it is not a question of if you're going to get sick. It's a question of you're going to get sick. And when you do, what do you have in place to take care of that so you don't tap into your money, that you have something set aside to tap into that, so you don't have to spend down, what you saved and your wealth that you created in your working years. And so, And so that's some of the stuff that I talk about on my, actually on my YouTube channel, in terms of what to be thinking about, to think of. There's long-term care policy. They have those policies in place. However, they can be very expensive, and on top of that, when my mom bought hers, she was supposed to have had it for 2 years. And when she got sick, I called them and was like, can we go ahead and turn on her long-term care? And they were just like, I'm sorry, she hasn't had the policy for 2 years. And I was like, wait, what? And she was paying $1,500 a month for that. And I was like, she paid $1,500. How's this not like turn on immediately? And so that was, for me, that was an eye opener, and just like, oh, there's got to be a better way. So I will say that there are other ways besides getting a policy to think of or consider. And then, last thing I want to ask you is, I know you, in terms of the folks in your life who are elderly, do they have a plan?
My aunt did a great job of planning. My parents, we've had to cobble together. I have one brother. So between their little pensions and their little investments and their what else they had, they're able to manage right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So but it was definitely, like you mentioned with your mother, a huge learning experience. This all kind of came crashing down on us this time last year. All three of them kind of collapsed at the same time, and so it was eye-opening, and shopping for assisted living places. This is in Boston and DC. Was man, they'll take all your money if you let them, Okay.
Yeah, they would. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Some of these places, just concierge services and all these things, and we will blah, 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 blah. And I was like, they make you feel like, oh, if you don't want to do that for your folks, then, you are not giving them the best that life has to offer them, right? You are a horrible, terrible child for not wanting to have all this for your folks, And I just like,
it's a la carte. Everything.
It is a la carte. Yes, all that. I get. I talk about this all the time. It's a total crash course, and we had to do a lot of negotiation. And in Boston is extremely expensive market, and we got our folks into a place because the place is being renovated.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so we cut a deal, and so, but it was very disruptive. It was hard. It was hard on our mother particularly, because she's Alzheimer's. So, but they're settling in. So just that sort of thing, I cut a deal for my aunt because the place that I had to put her in really quickly to somewhere. And someone had just passed away, and they only had it open for like 2 days. And I literally moved her in a weekend. And then of course that was, but she took it better, and she settled in. She's better. So, but yeah, but when I was looking at places, and I had to take time off from work and get this done, and running back and forth to Boston, and then, very, very, very quickly. And fortunately, I had some very good friends who had gone through this before. I had friends whose parents were older, as we all do, and I had already passed, and I just reached out to those folks and got great advice. So, yeah, and particularly for African Americans, it really has to be the right place, right? Right. I mean, again, for all socially and emotionally, so there were those considerations, and cultural considerations, etc. And so, but yeah, we had to go fast, and so I had started looking before, but then it accelerated. So I just think that, and it's only, it's great you're doing this series, because you really do, like everything else. It's like, some people are in the sandwich generation now, they're planning for college, right? And then they got to help their elderly folks, So I don't have kids.
Right.
So, I mean, I can't imagine trying to manage all that, but it's literally people plan for people's college, their kids' college, the day their child's born. Your child's
right.
Up, right?
Right.
We all know that. So, now you've got these different kinds of 5 plans. You're planning, so now you have to plan for your later years.
Right. And this is the best. And so that's some of the conversation that I've been having with folks, which is plan now, in your 20s, not when you're hitting your 40s and your 50s. Plan now.
I wish someone had said that to me. Yeah.
Well, and part of it is it's through the learning. It's the learning curve. I mean, my mother got sick, and I was like, oh shit, I'm it. And so then for me, it was like, okay, what do we do? And she passed. Like she was sick. I brought her back to get her better, and she passed like 3 weeks later. And
I'm
so
so sorry. That's so quick.
it was, and but I'm blessed and thankful for that, because that could have been a very long, drawn out process for the two of us. And I thought, my $1's got to now cover her and me, and all the other stuff that I'm trying to figure out what we can do. What does she have access to? And so my mom still had access to things, which I was grateful for, because I could plug into. But I think about folks who, their people don't have access to anything. They don't really have anything planned. And so after my mother's passing, some of it was like, okay, you got to get your stuff together. And so just kind of falling into this piece, and just really understanding finances and what that means for just us, and how we really have to have a plan. Like, just like in the beginning.
It's a wake up call. If you've gone through it, that's your wake up call. Okay. And if you don't follow through for yourself, then shame on you.
Right. And I actually stumbled upon this it's like a website called, and it's an app too, but it's called My Wishes. I'm sorry. Yeah. So My Life and Wishes. And the cool thing about My Life and Wishes is that you can put everything in this one location. So, what do you want upon your death? Who do you want to get what? Who's going to manage everything for you? Like, all of this stuff is really, really important, because if you can have it in one location and you can get what you need to get access to the information, then you know what you need to do. So I spent like 2 weeks looking for my mama's paperwork and trying to, get stuff together and figure and comb through everything. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And so whatever I can find and use that's going to be useful and I can tell people about, My Life and Wishes, use. It is it's worth using. It is.
That's
definitely
great. I found this thing called the Knockbox, next of kin box.
Yes.
And so that has been helpful to get my dad organized, and so, because, I want him to have agency. Right, and so he's still in good shape, fairly good shape. Turns 90 in October, and so I check, and that gives him something to do. He has got to I got him the Knockbox. I got one myself. I'm concerned, and let's try to both have this done by date certain as a project on the weekends,
Right.
So that's, but I'm kind of write this down. MyWishes.com, you said?
It's My Life and Wishes.
My Life and Wishes. Okay. And that sounds good too. Yeah, for older, he's not on the internet at all.
Okay.
He still has a flip phone. All right.
Oh.
Yeah. Now his phone needs to go into the Smithsonian. Seriously.
Right.
And he will not, even with the jitterbug or any of these, these really simplified phones, he won't.
Right.
And I was like, Daddy, being loyal to this company doesn't get you anything anymore. Okay?
Right.
Right. And you'd have more information. There's no more white pages, there's no more yellow pages. It's sad. It's hard. It's really hard. There's no operator, right?
No, none of it. It's so funny.
I know. It's really tough. I mean, just going to the restaurant, if he don't have a paper menu, he can't do it. Right.
And now you got to scan it. Just pull up the menu.
Now you got to scan it. I don't like doing it. I mean, give me a paper menu. I'm over for the most part. So, but, that was also, yeah, it saves on paper, but the point is, people who are not in the, online realm are really slipping behind.
Right. Yeah, very much so.
Right.
And then when I was looking at the decade for the 60s, the one thing that came across was, like, in your 60s, 10,000, fun fact, 10,000 people, baby boomers, are retiring every single day.
I read that too. I just found, there's just because I was born in 1960, so I'm at the tail end of the boomers. I've always been stuck behind those boomers.
Right.
I call it the Clinton generation, the 1945, 1946 people. I'm so bored with them, and they're bored with us too. We're the big pig. We're the last of the pig in the python, right? And that was so annoying about the boomers. Every life milestone, we acted like it was no one else had gone through this before, you know? Right? But yes, this is the pig and the python. We are, and they have been retiring, and it is huge.
Right.
And so that's, I saw that, I've seen that in the media, and thinking, you know, still in really good shape. And then I also talked to I have a financial advisor, and they, you know, we ran my numbers, and if at my present steady state, okay, which means like going out of the country a couple times a year, you know,
right?
I mean, it's all about travel and buying books now. That's all I do. The house is paid for. You know, my present steady state, maybe a little bit less. I have enough till I'm 81. Okay, so that's when I was like, all right, I gotta change some things up, and that was good to know. You know,
right?
So that much I know. That's without even dipping into some other things, right?
Right.
So,
you know,
that's just my investments,
right?
You know, and my Social Security. All right.
Right.
So, so yeah, that's 17 years, you know, from now, and what am I gonna do? You know. So that's why that was also a way. That was good. I changed financial advisors because the one I had was, you know, just didn't give me the personal touch that I wanted. So
right.
But yeah, so that's and that was a, as my mother used to say, a kick in the head.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. I thought I was doing pretty good, but you know, like, yeah, I was. But you know, if my dad's mom lived till she was 97. My father is 90. You know, and
right.
I gotta plan.
Yeah, you live long. Your people live long.
We live long and trying to prosper.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So while you're, you know, creating an income, you also got to be growing some money on the side too, even into as you're aging, because you still want your money to be viable and that, you know, to be able to spend the way you need for it to spend. And so I find for me, doing this financial services piece is so fascinating and so much fun. I'm enjoying it.
I'm glad. I was trying not to beat up on myself. I'm glad I started when I did. Okay?
Right.
All right. But I'm telling my younger friends, I'm trying to have more younger friends too. Okay? That's important. There's two things. When I'm long gone, you remember about me is one that I told you to take care of your body and your teeth. Okay? Because that's like.
Right.
Seriously. I had major dental surgery, and I did that. I got that done before I left that job. And then 2, you know, start saving and making your money grow.
Yeah.
And pay off what you need to pay off. Okay.
Right.
And so I did have student loans, but they were manageable. Now, these loans these days are not. Okay. It is outrageous.
Yeah, and I actually have a problem with that. Yeah, I know if people are trying to figure out what to do with their student loans, so I was like, I got something for you, possibly. So when I'm talking to folks.
Good. Well, you know, and there's this, I mean, I don't know, I don't blissfully unaware of the eligibility for the Biden administration's forgiveness programs, but they need to check those out. Okay?
Yeah.
And so I'm blissfully unaware, don't have to bother with it. But I paid mine off. I have no resentment whatsoever to anybody who gets their loan forgiven. Okay? I am happy for them. Right?
Yeah, because that.
I mean, why would people be mad about that? You know, these people can now really contribute to society. They can now buy houses. They can now invest, right? That's what we want.
Right.
You know, and these jacked up tuition prices, you know, are really, that's what the problem is.
So,
why is this tuition? You're going to school, you know. What are you paying for? Right?
Yeah,
that cost me $5,000 a semester, you know, 40 years ago, if that, right? I mean, I think it was $5,000. I think my highest tuition bill in undergrad was $5,000. That was the last bill. It was double when my brother graduated 3 years later. Right. I was like, yeah, 10 grand. Mine was $5,000, and then law school was, I came out with $32,000 a day.
Now that's
now that's like the books, okay?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
You know, that's how much you spend on books and all that other stuff. So I think I told that someone. I said, if a young person asked me how much I had, I don't even tell them because they want to hit me, you know,
right?
Because they got six figures more. It's terrible. And the idea of going back to school, I mean, you have to get somebody to pay for that, because that's just not. All these old people, I'm reading about how these old people, the other problem, these old people who went back to school and then they have student debt in their 60s, right?
Right. So I actually ended up talking to a lady who had gone back to school to get her master's degree, and she had student debt, and she was like, I thought this was going to help me get a higher paying job, and it did not. And I was just like, yeah. And I told her, and I remember just being in my career, and coworkers like, you should get your master's, you should go for your PhD. And I was like, how about you go fly a kite? I'm not incurring no crazy student debt. I said, listen,
some universities have I know some universities have programs where they want older students, and you do get tuition off. Right. You know, they want older students in the classroom. They want a richer classroom, but they're gonna have to pay.
Right, they gotta pay.
They gotta pay.
You gotta pay. And then I told them, I said, with my experience, that's equivalent to education as far as I'm concerned. I mean, because
there's the opportunity cost too of what you miss out on by doing that, extra. Right. So, I mean, you could just publish your own book if you're gonna be doing all that, in my opinion. Right. Put that time to write your own book. Something like that. That's me. But I am an education. It's just like there's an opportunity cost now. You really have to be smart about. And I know you did this. You did this. I've had people ask me, should I go to school? And I said, unless you get a significant scholarship, I say, unless you know really what you want to do. All right, I'm not going to dissuade anybody from their dreams, but coming out of school, $150,000 in debt at your 40s and 50s is a whole other thing.
Yeah, it's a whole nother. Yeah, because that money could be going towards putting it into your retirement. Because there are two places with it. One is your asset, which is your home. That's wealth. It's slow, but it's wealth. And then you build up when you get to work, like when you get into a qualified plan, or whatever plan that you get into that's being offered. That's how you also build wealth. I mean, that's the bulk of most Americans, and so it's been interesting and fascinating. However, I'm not going to keep you any longer. Thank you so much, Leslie, for talking to me.
Well, thank you for the conversation. Thank you for the work you're doing, April. It's really important, and you're very good at it. And so, God bless you, because this is really, and I can tell how much you're enjoying it, and